Okay, so I was talking to Mandy in December about all this thinking I had on the research I've been doing around this topic, and she said, "Oh, you should talk in the party." So, of course, I think it's fun, and thanks for having me. That's the reason I'm here. Um, I adapted a presentation I've been developing during the last 2 years around this topic. The topic is not only positive thinking; it's actually something I call the winning brain. Okay, so I'm gonna talk a little bit of who I am, so you can know who am I. Um, so I've been working and I've been an entrepreneur for more than 23 years. I've been marketer for more than 23 years now. Um, I'm also mind and market researcher. I've been working in marketing research for my whole life, um, and also a brand strategist. I'm also a consultant, business consultant, a writer. I have a blog, and I've developed different methodologies like to understand consumers, like mind, market, like in business research, right? This is what I do. So I've been working closely with biology, neuroscience, also historians, a little bit of neurobiology, also evolutionary psychology, and well, all that. I'm not any of that. I'm a marketer, but I've been like all the time, like very curious about all those science and techniques that we can use to understand better the mind. Okay? And by the way, please forgive my English because I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, but I hope you can understand me. I've written 3 books. One is published. I've been also a professor in university here in Colombia. I live in Colombia, and I've also been a speaker. Okay, so that's the beautiful part. And why I'm interested in this topic, the first thing is that because, as I told you before, I've been very curious about the mind, how it works, how the mind influences our behavior, what we can do to understand better our behavior, and how to even change behavior. So, so this is something natural in me. I'm all full of questions, like all the time, every day in my life, like every hour, I'm asking things to myself. So that's why I say that I see myself as an etiologist. An etiologist is someone that tries to find always like the reason of why things happen, like the deepest reasons of why something happens. So I think it's a beautiful word, and I use it. Okay, uh, I think something important. I don't know, Melly, how do you manage this? But I think it can be good to stop in different parts of the presentation so people can ask questions. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. And they can also drop them in the chat and then I can just let you know when there's questions.
Okay. Okay, and why else that this topic mattered to me is because after being pretty successful, and I even got venture backed in one of my startups, a venture company, venture group in the United States, um, backed our company with money. They invested in us. Then my primary company, like the big company we had, got bankrupt. I started to have problems with the Colombian IRS, and because some accounting problems, and and we went bankrupt. That was super hard. And then I started realizing that my startup struggled to grow. was so difficult for the company to grow. So I realized that we didn't have product market fit. So that's something pretty common, but I thought that that problem would not touch our company, but it did. So it was really difficult to grow. Um, we had to do a lot of things to understand what was happening, to understand better our market, our buyer persona, our strategy, our product. So we have to iterate a lot and start changing things. But then, because of all that, I got a little bit depressed, but very worried and burned out. I become like really burned out. But I learned. I think that something really valuable about all this is that I learned a lot about the startup world. I learned a lot about how to manage and handle investors. And investors told me every time that they will invest like 300K, 500K, 600K. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to be so famous and billionaires. But that was all bullshit. Um, and I learned that we have to, well, a lot of learning I had. Maybe we can talk about that another time. But yeah, we have to. You have to focus in the product and not in the investors. And then the pandemic hit. It was a mess. I started to work from home. In Colombia was especially hard because the lockdown was like very strict, like very long, and it was like, oh, like psychologically it was really tough. But
And
I've had oh
something that I want to highlight that probably people here will relate is that you had to be in lockdown with a daughter, like a small toddler, and a pregnant wife. So it was a lot, you know what I mean, to like handle from coming, with that burnout and then having to work from home with a toddler, no space. Like it was just a disaster.
yeah, maybe some of you have kids, so maybe you know what we are talking about. Yeah. So I lived in Bogota. It's a city in Colombia. It's the capital city, and it's cold. Well, not as in Greece right now, but it's cold. And I have a problem. I have a condition. Is rhinitis and sinusitis. It's really bad. I've had a lot of surgeries, and my nose don't work properly. So it was a mess. I couldn't sleep. I was always tired. Like, oh, it was really bad. And our revenue plumped 75% during the pandemic because all companies shut down. Uh, so, so we are talking now about two different companies: the market research company and this new startup. It's a procurement software and service company. Okay, so between these two companies, revenue plumped 75%. So it wasn't so funny. My wife lost her job, and she was like 50% of our family income. And then she was pregnant by me, by the way. So I was so burned out. It was really, really tough. So I had recurrent negative and disastrous like thoughts. I was always thinking about, I don't know, sometimes or a lot of times in the day, I had a lot of bad feelings and bad thoughts, like dramatic thoughts, like something bad is gonna happen. So, oh my God, I started to think that something was not right. Something was really bad. So I had I made the decision that something had to change in my mind. I have to transform it, but I needed to know how to transform it, how to make a strong mind, like how to make it really strong, right? And since I have this background on different disciplines that research and understand the mind, I started to read, I started to research, and I began curating the learnings I've made, that I researched, that I read, in order to create some kind of compendium, to build this kind of compendiums. Because I love compendiums. Actually, this was another startup I built a while ago. It was called Tipedia. And actually, you can find the book in Amazon. It's called The 66 Secrets on How to Become Steve Jobs. So it was a really good book, more or less successful. It was like 9 years ago. And it was like a compendium of all the important like learnings of Steve Jobs and why he achieved what he achieved. So fortunately, thanks for asking. Everything now is really good, great. Our companies are now growing better than before the pandemic, fortunately. So I think it's all because the pandemic ended, and because I started to work on this and to work in my mind. Okay, okay, so I built this, the winning brain. So this is what we'll talk about. I don't know if you have any questions right now. Mm, Melly, I don't know if you can see who's asking questions because I think I cannot, right?
No, nobody has questions.
Okay, but you're gonna like watch that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm watching on the chat.
Okay, okay. Okay, so to build like a really complete, like holistic framework or model that can help me understand and consider everything that I have to do in order to be really strong with my mind, to have a really strong mind, right? So in the first place, what I found is that I have to have motivation, and then that motivation will lead to purpose. And between those two, I'm gonna have passion. And then after I have a purpose with big ambition, I'm gonna set some goals. And then with those goals, I'm gonna align my brain with a healthy brain. I have to have a really healthy brain and also a healthy body to have energy. And then that all that will lead to a growing mindset, a growth mindset, and that will give me self-esteem. And then it will lead to grit. And finally, I will have to have like growth habits. And at the end of the day, in that circle, I'm gonna achieve happiness. And with happiness, I will be capable of fulfilling all my dreams and goals. So this is like the model, and my purpose today is to talk about it. Mm, so these are the specifics. We are not. I'm not going to talk about all of them because that's too much. But I'm gonna pick some of them, some that I think are very important, and the ones that I used in these years to have a better mind, a stronger mind. Um, so, in the first place, motivation is the first step. So, how do you have big motivation, strong motivation? So, we're gonna understand a little bit about this topic, and we are gonna talk about the neuroscience of motivation and purpose. This neuroscience is very important because what we're going to see is that when we can understand the neurochemicals that drive motivation and purpose, then we can hack our body to have motivation and purpose. Okay. Then, purpose. We're going to talk a little bit about how to find our purpose or why. Maybe a lot of you are very clear in that and you don't have to find your purpose because you have already have it. Goals, we're not going to talk much about that. Healthy brain, yes, that's very important. That's something that I wasn't so aware of, and now I find that is super important. I was that kind of person that thought that this was really bullshit. This things about meditation and all that. I was like, that's bullshit. That's for losers. So I never paid attention to that. But now I found out that it's really important, not only helpful, it's basic for your day to day for your life. Healthy body, a healthy body, it's super important um, because when you breathe, when you sleep, okay, when you exercise, when you eat healthy, when you have a good body mass, then you will have more energy. And that's one of the conditions to win or at least fulfill your dreams and goals. You know that there's a correlation between people that exercise, between people that are not necessarily thin, but there's a correlation between people that exercise regularly with money. They earn more money and they are more happy. Now, also people that have a body mass below 25. Then growth mindset. That's another one really important. Maybe you heard or read about this one because in the latest years we have been pretty famous thanks to a professor, professor Carol Dweck, that talked about the growth mindset, and we're going to talk about that. And finally, growth habits. We're not going to talk much about this because that's a whole completely like a super big topic. Actually, you can find many books on each one of these like points, right? Like these little squares. But growth habits, it's all about productivity, all about flow, mastery, how to organize your day. Well, all about that. We're not going to talk much about this. We're going to talk a little bit more about the ones that have this red star. Okay, so let's start. So about motivation, the first thing as animals that we are that influence all our motivation is lust, sex. In evolutionary psychology, we know that men, for example, are genetically designed to find resources for the family and find women also to have, of course, kids. But in order to have more and more kids, the more kids we have, that is genetically, right? Like our biology, not culture, our biology. We are designed to have the most amount of kids that we can in order to preserve our species. So quantity of sexual partners is the name of the game for men, and for women, it's different because women had to 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 to, to, to yeah, they had a 9 month pregnancy because it was too long because we lived only like 30 years, 25 years. So a 9 month pregnancy was really long. So it was so long, women needed a man near them that can help them with food, with meat, to protect them, a real partner, right? So that's why women seek quality. So men seek quantity and women seek quality. That's why, even in business, we have a different approach and in life, not only in business, in life. Men seek more money. That this doesn't mean that women doesn't seek money, of course, but men seek more money. That's why all conversations of men are about money. Money, cars, the company, the job, but not much about when women talk. When women talk, they are more about well-being, about family wellness, about social status. Okay, and that's why women are more, um, yeah, like social media oriented. They are more. They have a more tendency, a bigger tendency to be on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all this. So a small percentage win in this world, uh, because yeah, less than 1% actually wins, right? So you better be different from the rest if you have to win, if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win, but if you want to be, if you want to win, you have to be really different. Okay. And a lot of the drive that enables success comes from individuals that had sexual issues in their youth. So this is something I think is really important. This is something that I've been researching for a while. And I've noticed that people with some kind of traumas that they don't realize, actually, they don't think, we never think that we have traumas. But if you want to be different, and if you are really different, it's because you have something really different in your mind. And a lot of times it's because you have some traumas that comes from your childhood. Okay. So some of those traumas comes from sexual issues, and some always thought they deserved, for example, more sex partners, especially men. It's also happened with women, of course, but especially men have this feeling that, oh, I deserve more sex partners, and and this is sometimes unconscious, not so conscious, and this is something that's going to drive to do something. I have to be like beautiful. I have to be better. I have to earn more money. I have to have a better car. I have to a lot of things. So that's like the basics of motivation, or one of them, because is other one is anger and honor. For example, Steven Spielberg, Elon Musk, Walt Disney were all bullied. They were all bullied in school. So they developed this kind of rage or anger, this thing like, "Ugh, I'm gonna be better, I'm gonna be the best, I'm gonna shut your mouth, I'm gonna build something that shut their F mouths." For example, Steve Jobs returned after being fired from his company, from Apple, and after, I don't know, like 10 years, he came back and he returned, and he had this the thing inside that said to him, you have to take back your company and make your company like super successful, and that was a big flame, a big combustion that made him really successful. Also, Michael Dell started Dell after his parents told him not to, and he said, "Not? You're telling me not to, so I'm gonna do it." And well, the rest is history. Also, Rihanna, Mark Cuban, well, hundreds more. They they base their like the motivation unconsciously. They don't talk much about this, but unconsciously, I found this is really strong to spark motivation. Okay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. This is some kind of university lecture. I hope you're not bored, but I'm gonna do my best here. So um, we have there's something really important in the neurochemistry of motivation and passion. As I said before, if we understand this, then we can make it work for us, make our biology work for us. Okay, so curiosity drives passion when we find a purpose. This phrase is really important. Curiosity drives passion when we find a purpose. Okay. Um, so the secret behind it is that it's all about neurotransmitters. So we're going to talk about dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, and all this. Oh, neurochemicals. But I'm gonna talk about them really fast, but it's really important. Okay, so the point here is that more neurochemicals that we can throw in our blood, coming from our brain, of course, the more likely we're going to have motivation, and the more likely we're going to have a purpose, and the more likely that we're going to achieve our goals and dreams. Okay, and the more probably the probability of getting excited and happiness, it's going to increase. Okay. The other thing is that memory enhancement is another key role played by this neurochemical. So when you throw all this uh, neurochemistry in your head, or your head starts like liberating and throwing to your blood all these neurochemicals, not only you get more excited, but also your memory enhances. That's why you can remember more and get more expertise in what you want to learn. And the first one, I'm a fan of dopamine. Dopamine is so powerful. I'm sure you've heard about this. It drives passion and learning. Dopamine is why you want to eat a an ice cream or a chocolate, or you want to have sex, or you want to eat more, whatever. Okay, so it drives us to work repeatedly on something again and again, and that's why we come and make it and do it again. Oxytocin is another one. It's a very good partner because it drives that need to work for a better world, for a better society, community. It's the one that makes us feel love for our kids, for siblings, for friends and everything. Okay? Vasopressin. This one helps stick to the cause, to the cause. So if we have a cause, this one helps us like to be loyal to it, loyal to partners, loyal to our projects. You're going to start looking and seeing and realizing that each neurochemical has a specific job, and not one is enough, because we need to feel excited. That's dopamine. We have to feel like like compromise for the job, for the community. That's like oxytocin, but that oxytocin is like reinforces it, and then we need noradrenaline because it's the productivity. I want to do this again. Oh, I need this. We are like hyper alert. We have hyper vigilance. So we are like obsessed on what we want to do. Okay, and then serotonin. It makes us feel very happy and calm. So it reinforces satisfaction with our work. And finally, endorphins and anandamide. They are painkillers. They produce like bliss. They relieve stress, and that because of them is that when we run, or when we go swimming or any exercise, is that's the reason we feel this high, like we feel euphoric, is because those endorphins. So the more the more our brain releases these neurochemicals, the more we're gonna drive to motivation and passion and then purpose. So let's go to specific suggestions and practical recommendations. So curiosity, something really important, and this comes from a guy called Stephen Kotler, is that he says that the first thing you have to do is list all your interests. Of course, you can list all your interests, like your 20, 30 most important interests, whatever, 10, whatever. But then comes something really important, key. You have to find intersections and common things between those interests. You have to find the gaps that you think only a few people are working on and that spark your passion. So those intersections, patterns, you start looking at patterns and intersections, and there's where you're gonna find like the spark of passion. And this happened to me years ago because I've been always passionate, as you know, about the mind, understanding the mind, the human behavior, even animal behavior. But I'm also passionate on writing, creative writing, and I'm also passionate on teaching, like giving away knowledge. And these three things, I've been thinking a lot of how they can work together. And that's why I'm writing now a business novel. That's why I'm doing this today. And that's why I have a lot of projects that I'm now working on. For example, how can I introduce art and creativity, like something really different, like liberal arts and in making stories about how can we live more, live better, and understand better our minds and understand better consumers and people, but give it away in a very creative way. Okay? When you find those intersections, then what you have to do is listen to podcasts, read articles, books, watch videos, everything you can do in order to be better and better on that interest and specifically on those intersections. So that's how you're going to discover and understand better those intersections, those gaps. Okay. And that will throw into your mind more dopamine, more oxytocin, more and more of those neurochemicals. It's going to be like a loop. So when more neurochemicals, more motivation, and passion is going to start, and then it's going to be more like easy for you to find your purpose. Okay? For example, communities are a great place to go because you learn, you understand how behind are you or how good are you on those intersections. But something really important is that you get social reinforcement. You saw maybe in the model, in the framework I showed of the winning brain, that one part is social reinforcement. That's really important. We have to feel that what we know, what we do is important for other people. And that's how we know if we are good at that. We can excel even at that. Okay. Okay. And then after motivation, we have to find our purpose. So this is a topic that has been going around. You can find like 1 million YouTube videos on this and articles and whatever. But I found some useful things. I'm going to share them. Maybe you've heard or you've read this book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's from Viktor Frankl. You read it? Maybe someone?
I haven't read it, and I don't think anybody, because they would have said here in the chat.
No,
Okay.
actually, I've read it. It's the story of, well, I mean, it says right there, the classic tribute to the hope from the Holocaust, the guy that survived the Holocaust. There's
Yeah.
one scene in particular that I think about a lot, where he describes um, his basically his need for living, basically just being a single moment in time. And it was like sub-zero temperatures or something in Germany,
Yeah.
and he sees a house far out on the hill with the light on, and he describes it as a painting and so beautiful that it's worth living life as long as possible.
Oh, awesome. didn't remember that. Yeah, but yeah, awesome. It's true. Yeah, this book is really important because it touched like the basics of purpose. This was a psychiatrist, German psychiatrist, and during the Second World War, Hitler and his guys took him away and put it inside Auschwitz, one of the concentration camps, right, like the most famous concentration camp. And all his family was killed, all his family. So imagine how difficult it was. It was temperatures as our friend said was sub-zero. It was really cold. Like he saw how they killed people, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people killed. But something different about him is that he started to realize after years and years in there in this in concentration camp, he started to realize that he can achieve happiness. Like imagine how they lived. They they were like thin as a hair, as a human hair, almost. They didn't eat well. They starved. Were very cold. They had a lot of illness, a lot of things, bad and whatever. So, but he found out that he can achieve happiness because he wanted to talk this to the world when he get out. So he was so excited about teaching the world about this, about what he can do with his mind, how he can control his mind, and because of all this excitement that he had, that single thing made him very happy. He said, "Oh my God, I found a purpose. I found a meaning. Not a purpose, but he talked about a meaning. I found a meaning." And because he was a psychiatrist, he was so eager to understand mind and to understand happiness and all this. And he said, "Okay, I have to share this with the world." Um, and and that's something really important. Because a lot of people in some part of our lives we lose meaning, the meaning of why we are living, and this is pretty normal. As I said before, I'm now 45, but when I was in my 20s, maybe in my lower 30s, I thought that I was Superman, and maybe the older ones that are in this call, maybe they can understand it better. I know, but I thought that I was Superman because I thought that I was going to build like billion-dollar companies. I'm going to build uh, hundreds of companies or dozens or whatever. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do whatever, and then one started to realize that it's not that easy. It's not always what you think, what you can do. But it depends on how you take it and the mind that you develop, right? And how you face obstacles. And when you get in the upper 30s, in the 40s, you start realizing that all this is really important. And you start realizing that maybe in some part of my life, I lose meaning and you have to search for it again. Okay. Um, Actually, there's a research that shows that in life, the period where people are less happy is at the beginning of their 40s, like late 30s and the beginning of their 40s.
Is that
Because
why?
there,
Is that why that's called the midlife crisis?
yeah, part, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because people start realizing how difficult is life and that life is not what we thought of during university. And they start realizing that they can make big mistakes and that their plans a lot of the time won't be being fulfilled, right? So then then we accept that. We start really improving, like being mentally stronger, and in our 60s we achieve like the biggest happiness possible. Okay, of course, this is not for everybody. I suppose that a lot of people have different patterns or whatever.
No, I mean,
Okay, so
I think it is. Like, I feel like all of us here, like, the reason why people come to a community is to either learn or find support. And when you're looking for support, it's because something is happening where maybe you feel some type of like lost. And I
mhm,
think that a lot of people here may relate to that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so search for something that make you like really excited that you want to share with the world, and that's a very important first step. But definitely the intersections thing that I talked before is something super important, super easy to do, and I'm sure you can do that, and you can start like making work for you. The other strategy for finding a purpose comes from this guy that is called Dan Cable's. Dan Cable's framework is very interesting. And he said, hey, don't follow your passion. That's stupid. Follow your blister. And this is an interesting concept, idea, because this guy says like, hey, don't start thinking about what you love. No, don't think about that. Think about those things that keep coming to you, keep coming to you, keep coming to you every time you work on them. Those are those kind of activities that that are hard for you. Maybe you don't really love, but you are okay with them. They are a little bit painful for you, maybe, like the blisters on your feet. But yeah, it's those things that always comes to you in life, and they are a little bit challenging for you, a little bit frustrating even, but they attract you. You don't love them, but you're attracted to them. Um, and when you follow that, then you're gonna excel in that. And when you excel at that, you won't be bored. You're gonna be really good at that, and then you've found your passion. That's your passion, your blister. So, so your passion is not a love story. That I think is like the main idea. Your passion is not a love story. It's something that you have to work really hard to definitely say that, oh, this is what I want to do in life because I've been working on this like for years, and now I'm good at this. I thought that maybe I didn't like this, but now I'm good at this. I excel at this, and I like it. So that's what you have to do in life. That's your blister. Okay? And Mark Cuban says something similar. He says, "Follow your passion." No bullshit. Follow your effort. No one quits anything they are good at. And he says, if I followed my own passions, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I would be a quarterback, but I'm not a quarterback. I follow my effort, my work. Okay? So it's a little bit doses of reality. And let's talk again about the neuroscience behind this. because it's really important. Because when we understand it, again, we can make it work for us. Neurobiologically, purpose alters our brain because the first thing is that it decreases the reactivity of the amygdala. The amygdala is something we have in front of the of our brains, and when we have a purpose, we have less stress and greater resilience. This is very important. When we have a purpose, then the amygdala make us feel better. Okay? The amygdala is the part that mm, like work on our emotions, make us emotional. But also purpose decreases the volume of the medial temporal cortex. And this alters how the brain filters incoming information. So this means that we're going to focus on what we want to do, what we are working on. So this is very important. When we have a purpose, then our biology tell us, hey, focus. Look how important is all this. And when you have a purpose, the third thing that happens is that in your mind, in your brain, increases the volume of the right insular cortex. And this protects against depression and correlates with significant number of well-being measures. So again, if you have a purpose, maybe you won't be depressed, and you're gonna be healthier, and you even gonna live longer because we have scientifically we have proven, the world have proven that the purpose impacts long-term health, lowering stroke incidence, dementia, and cardiovascular diseases. So look how important it is. But also look at this purpose. When we have a purpose, we're gonna reduce anxiety also. And is because we take off like the internal focus. You know that when we think of ourselves, like always thinking obsessively about ourselves, like self rumination, all that. If you have purpose, then you can cancel all that. You can eliminate all that. You're gonna reduce anxiety. Okay? But also, your purpose can inspire others and attract others to your cause. And that's very important because social support is going to provide you more neurochemistry, more neurochemicals. And so it's going to boost much more your motivation. But also, when you have a purpose, a big cause, you're going to attract other people, and other persons means they're going to have more help, financial help, physical help, intellectual help, every kind of help. So this is really important. You are now seeing why having a purpose in what you believe that excites you is so important. Okay. So let's talk about the healthy brain. You want to talk about something before, or I don't know, do you have questions or whatever?
Anybody has questions? No.
Okay. So let's go to the healthy brain. So this one has been for me really important. Because what you think, that what you think you become. And this is like a cliche phrase, but we can prove it with neurology, with all the neuroscience that all the researches that have been done in the neuroscience. And look at this. This is something really important. And I'm gonna prove why this phrase is so true in our brains with science. So the thalamus is the one that perceives signals from your senses. It tells if there's danger or peace. You have to flee or you have to fight, right? But it also tells you if everything's good outside, if you have a problem, if there's danger, if it's okay, if you can be happy or whatever. Okay, that's the thalamus. So when there's danger, the thalamus release cortisol, and cortisol is this neurochemical that start like making you alert and in order to flee or fight and all that. When this thalamus perceives that everything is okay, then he releases dopamine and serotonin and the other neurochemicals that we saw. But look at this. When you talk to yourself, the thalamus perceives that this is coming from your senses. So you can hack it. This is really important. When you talk to yourself and this talking produces some emotions in you, it's because the thalamus is perceiving that this information comes from your eyes or from your smell or whatever, okay? From your senses. So you can hack the thalamus saying whatever you want to change your behavior and your neurobiology, the neurobiology of the brain. So negative words and emotions are going to trigger cortisol. And if too much cortisol is released in your mind, then you will be sick. Okay? You will get ill. And we have something in our brain called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity means that your brain can build neural connections all the time, new neural connections. And the neural connections is what defines your thinking. It's what defines what you think and what you do. Okay. So because of this neuroplasticity, new neural connections will be formed in your brain every time that cortisol start appearing, right? So when you think about bad things, then cortisol appears and bad neural connections will appear in your brain, okay? And definitely your thoughts will be driving through those neural connections because they are there. Okay? So the opposite happens when you positively talk to yourself. When you talk about good things, you talk positively, then you start releasing the other neurochemicals and good neural connections start forming inside your brains. And your thoughts will start driving through those neural connections. And that changes everything because more dopamine and more of the other neurotransmitters are going to activate frontal lobes. And those frontal lobes will activate cortical motor areas in the brain that determines movement and action. Look at this. This is really important. When you talk to you positively, the thalamus says, oh, from the outside world, there's something good happening. Okay, so dopamine, oxytocin, and all those neurochemicals start releasing. And then the frontal lobes of your brain activates some cortical motor areas in the brain that makes you make things, like move, take action. So this is the scientific reason why thinking positively activates moving forward, like activates doing things. Okay? And this is why the common characteristic of happiness and success of happy and successful people is positive thinking. That's why every successful people has a positive thinking. Well, I suppose like 95% people. But you have to consider something. When you talk to yourself positively, don't doubt. Don't doubt. Because when you doubt, then cortisol will start again, like appearing, releasing. Okay. Don't contradict yourself. And how to be good at that? How to be good at controlling your mind, not doubting, not contradicting yourself. Create a habit. You can be better at that, creating a habit, a daily habit. How? And here it comes meditation and mindfulness. That's how you can control your mind. And that's how you can keep saying yourself to yourself beautiful things. So your brain will be full of beautiful highways, those neural connections that will define your thoughts and your actions, your everyday actions. And you know that everyday actions determines the rest of your life. It's that simple. Something that happened to me before, years before, is that I'm too tough in myself. Like I have a judge inside me, right? Like this judge keeps hitting me with a bat, like, oh, you're not good enough, and you didn't do your best work or whatever, you know. But research says that self-criticism is super associated with decreased motivation and poor self-control. But on the other side, supportive, compassionate self-talk, such as forgiveness and encouragement, tend to result in better motivation because it boosts personal responsibility and learning. So this is very important. I don't know how many of you are always like banging yourself on the head with a bat, but that's not a good idea. So this guy is Simon Borrero. Are you there? I have something in my.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, okay. Okay, so this guy is Colombian. He's Simon Borrero. He's the CEO of Rappi. I don't know if you've heard of Rappi. Rappi is a $5 billion company. Is Rappi is the 16th biggest YC private startup from Y Combinator. And he has a very interesting story. He says, look, my grandmother is like the most happy and positive person I've ever known. My grandmother says that every person in the world have to carry a little bag full of shit. A little bag full of shit. Everyone in the world have to carry a little bag full of shit. And some persons decide that they will carry the bag next to their nose. So everything smells like shit to them. Like those are people that complain from everything. Everything's bad. Everything. I hate everything. And my grandmother says that she decided that her little bag, she's gonna carry it like in the last part of her toe, down, yeah, far away on her toe, because she cannot smell bad smell, shit smell. So, so that's a very interesting story because he says that's where I learned to be super positive. It's because of my grandmother. I carry my little bag, in my toe, so I can smell the shit. And he believed that that's the reason of their success. Actually, I saw an interview where the interviewer asked, "Hey, Simon, what is like the most important thing an entrepreneur must do in order to be successful?" And what do you think he could respond? He can say, "Oh, the product, you have to build a really good product, like the strategy, the team, the culture." He could say anything you can imagine about business. But no, he didn't talk about business. He said, the most important thing for an entrepreneur is a mindset of always seeing an opportunity inside every obstacle. Because in a startup, you get so many of them every day that if you see them as a problem, you end up depressed. If instead you see opportunities, you will find solutions, work with passion, and everything will work out. So look how important is this. And I think in my years as an entrepreneur, this was for me like wow, because this was something I was missing. I was missing a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I didn't see these things because I thought that these things are a little bit stupid, a little bit like esoteric, maybe like Chopra, Deepak Chopra, and all those bullshit authors. But now I understand that they are so helpful and important. So the other author and writer about all this of positive intelligence and all this is a guy called Shirsad Chamini. Maybe you've read this book. This book is called Positive Intelligence, and I recommend it a lot. So this guy says, "Hey, kill your all have some saboteurs inside of our head. Here you can find 12 of them: the controller, hyperachiever, restless, the stickler, the pleaser, hypervigilant, the avoider, victim, hyperrational." So these are all like those saboteurs we have inside. But he says that our potential is determined by how we deal with our positive intelligence. And I think it's true. He says that in order to deal with those saboteurs, we need to control them, and we need to control the master saboteur. The master saboteur is the judge. Is the one I talked to you before? Is the one I had in my mind like all day, like, oh, you are a loser, or oh, you're not good enough, you don't earn enough money, you don't have that car, or whatever. You don't deserve respect. Oh, and that judge start killing you. And he says that the judge fools you because that judge says to you a lot of not only bad thinking but lies. They say a lot of lies. The judge, and he said the judge says that he's the one that will make you a disciplined man or a disciplined woman or wherever. The judge always tells you that lie, that because of him, you're going to achieve discipline. So the steps to kill your judge and your saboteurs. This is a super um, like conclusion, super short conclusion, but if you can read the book, it can be really good. But the first step is to be aware of your saboteur every time he shows up. So every time you start thinking bad about yourself, you have to be aware of that. Like, oh my God, I started to think shit about me. I started to bang my head with my own bat. And then you have to put a name to that judge. You have to fool him. Oh, here comes the clown. Sometimes I say to myself, like, oh, here comes that clown. There you are. Okay, so that way you can start like laughing at him, and that's the best way to kill him, because then you can have compassion for yourself. Actually, he have a technique in which he tells you to think of yourself when you were a kid, and when you were doing happy things. I'm sure you can remember really happy moments when you were a kid, um, and those happy moments will make you like to have compassion for yourself. Okay, and that's really helpful. And the fourth step is for you to close your eyes and concentrate intensely on something a sense of you is feeling. For example, when you are uh, taking a bath and you start feeling like the water on your head, how it impacts your head, or the smell of the shampoo, or when you are sitting, like all the weight of your body on your legs. So you have to concentrate, really concentrating that for 5 seconds, then 10 seconds, and do that a lot of times in the day, 10 times in the day, 50 times in the day, and you are gonna feel after that really calm. It will calm your mind. You will feel much, much better. You're gonna recover control. Okay, that's have been really helpful for me. And then he says, okay, the other thing you have to do, and that's something Simon Borrero from Rappi said, is that you have to list when you have a problem that is not a problem but an obstacle. You have to list all the opportunities you may think of that can burn can yeah that obstacle can give birth, that obstacle that can of course can have opportunities. Always, always an obstacle can have opportunities in his sides, and you cannot see them at the beginning, but they always have opportunities. Even the biggest problems in the world, yes, you can find opportunities always. Even if someone is dead, even if you, I don't know, if you lost your job and you have some pretty bad illness, whatever, you can always find opportunities.
Hera,
So when you,
um,
Mhm.
sorry. Ivan has a question, but Ivan, I'm not sure because it kind of feels like you answered your own question. It says, as an older designer, I have noticed ageism has affected my ability to be part of a team in an office setting again. Did it impact me? Yes. I overcame it by stopping myself from criticism. So I think it relates to the healthy brain and the style here that we see here. Um,
yeah, 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 because as I was saying, you can always find opportunities for all those obstacles. Always, you can start, for example, okay, I cannot work inside a company, then I'm gonna develop my own business. I'm gonna say whatever example that comes to my mind, but oh, I can develop my own remote digital business on my own or with people from with my age. We can do a different kind of company that have a different approach, and that's a gap that maybe you find in the market. I mean, there are n numbers of different opportunities you can think of. The thing is that when we see problems as problems, we get blocked and you cannot see opportunities easily. But when you have this mindset of, hey, stop, everything is only an obstacle and every obstacle can have opportunities, then you're going to find them. And you can find all those intersections that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, thanks for answering that. That was perfect. That's how I felt. At one point, I did feel as if I did not belong, right? As if, okay, I did all this, I made a switch. Now I'm not feeling as if I could be part of it. And
Mhm.
what it changed for me was I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop torturing myself. I'm going to do something out of the ordinary. I ended up signing up for the State of Flow. And that
Mhm.
was, I think I had mentioned it to Melissa there when we were talking. I was like, this is the one thing I needed. I didn't know how to do it, but I just did it. And being there for 3 days, it was therapy that I needed to get over that.
Awesome. Wow. Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that start happening. How old are you?
I just turned 50 this past December.
Okay. Yeah. I'm 45 and I'm starting to feel that, well, maybe a couple of years ago, but yeah. Yeah, that happens. But again, when I started to understand all this, then everything is like calm. It's like everything started to go like green and with light and jello, everything that I saw, right? Because everything was like a new opportunity. I'm gonna not like fool you saying that oh my life is super perfect right now. That's bullshit. It's not gonna be super perfect always, but it's much better. It's much better. And when you start like looking for this opportunity, having this mindset, you're gonna be super happy, and then success will come, but maybe not. But you're now calm, and you're doing what you like because you find a solution and you find a gap, right?
Yes. And, it's like getting back on it, kind of like that I was saying, getting back on the horse. It really opened up a few things for me. I was able to complete a portfolio. I've got some great reviews on it and all that feedback. And I already this year already started really strong. I already have 4 projects in the work and hopefully 2 more. So things
Oh,
are
awesome.
rolling. So it's
Awesome.
more about it's kind of like you said, finding what really fits that, finding that gap, and how can you fill that gap with what you know.
Great, great. Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so when you find those opportunities, as you mentioned, Evan, you have to act, of course, toward them and build a habit. Build a habit. Punch your judges in the face, uncover opportunities, and work toward them every single day. Because we know that things will not like happen in a couple of days of working. You have to work like every single day for a lot of time. But then comes silence. Silence is something that I found I found why this was so important for me. I found this in the lockdown of the pandemic because here's a paradigm. The paradigm is that in the pandemic we were locked down. Apparently, it was like silence because the city was shut down. Everything was shut down, but you were locked inside your mind. So noise was the name of that game. You have a lot of noise inside your head. Outside, it was silence, but inside your head, it was so noisy. So that helped me to be so burnout. That's why I got burnout. That's one of the causes. So I understood that silence was something I was missing. And now in the world we have today, where thousands of brands and people are fighting for our attention, well, silence is like gold, right? So my suggestion is, hey, contemplate quietly, no music, not even your thoughts. 15 minutes a day, like contemplate the mountains, the park, um, your wall, the wall in front of you, whatever. But contemplate. Contemplation is so important because it quiets your mind and will make you not only calm but more creative and a lot of more things. We're gonna get to that. So you can walk alone quietly in parks, also in the woods. Nature is key. That's something that happened to me in Bogota, in this city where I was living, because it was like a heavy city, like oh, like the yeah, everything, no park, no green. I was like, oh my god, I needed a breath. So now I live in a city called Cali, and I have here everything's like green. There's like a jungle, like a mini jungle, like a forest, and it's so calm here. So yeah, silence is super important in your life. Um, let's see what we have here about silence. Can we reproduce a video, for example?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know if you see you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And for the audio, let's see.
Yeah, I think you can just play it and we can hear it.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no, we can't.
No?
No.
Okay, let me see. Maybe it's because of my headphones. Let's now
No.
you cannot hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. So never mind.
It's okay. You can also share the link and we can watch it after.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I had like two or three different videos that I wanted to share.
Yeah, you can put them at the end on the chat and they can watch it.
Okay. Here you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then is this guy called Krishnamurti. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was like a really famous kind of philosopher, Indian philosopher. He was a very important figure in India. He was a thinker. And he talked about a lot of things, but one of the things he talked about was brain emptiness. And I have here like a quote. It's a very long quote, but I put it here like completely, all of it, so we can read it and understand it completely. Because I can talk about it, but I think is we can have a more precise feeling of what he wanted to say and transmit when we read it completely. He says, when the brain is completely quiet, it is empty. So this is why mindfulness and all this is so important, and silence, and be surrounded by nature, and not and close your phone and stop thinking about your work for a while. This is so important. So you need space, you need emptiness to observe. He says, to observe you, I must have space. To observe you, I must have space between you and me. And then there is seeing. So a mind that is crippled with sorrow, with problems, with its vanities, with its urge to fulfill and frustrated, caught in nationalism and all that, all that petty little things of life, such brain has no space. It is not empty, and therefore it is utterly incapable of observing. Look at how important is this. If you don't have an empty brain, if you cannot make it like empty every day in a while, then you are not capable of observing things.
And when a mind that is as being petty and shallow says, hey, I must explore, it has no meaning because it must explore itself, not whether there is something beyond itself. So when the brain is completely quiet, empty, look at this, and that demands astonishing awareness, attention, that is the beginning of meditation. Then that brain can see, listen, and observe. Then it will find out that there is something beyond the measure that man has made to discover reality. And that is really important because you know that emptiness is energy. And that's the Big Bang. You remember the Big Bang? It exploded because of its own emptiness. Emptiness is super energy. And that's really important for our brains also. We have to calm down to make it like clean, and then we're gonna explode in energy and creativity. Okay? Super important. Then we have this guy, he's an Argentinian neuroscientist. It's called Mariano Sigman. He wrote a book, I don't know if you can find it in English, but it's The Power of the Words. And another thing to have a healthy brain is have conversations. And I think that's why this community is also so important. Conversations is so powerful. And he says, we have conversations today to try to assert ourselves, not to discover new wisdom and points of view. And this is true. And this is the lack of emotional intelligence, right? Understanding that our beliefs might be wrong can save us. Look, this is so profound, it's so important. And this is so obvious that when we read this in this presentation, we all goes like, oh yeah, I know that's obvious. I know that like since I was born. I you know that like since I was 10 maybe. But all of us go into this mistake like every day in our lives. We think that our beliefs are the truth. But if we understand that maybe if they are wrong, if we think that maybe they are wrong, that can save us, save our company, our relationships, our families. So this is really important. And then he says, hey, you know that when you talk to someone else, your ideas, your thinking will be clearer. They will be better because they will emerge to the surface. And he remembers that Socrates and the Greek philosophers realized that the best way for them to understand, to discover things, was to talk to other people. When they talk to others, and then they will understand better their ideas and their goals and their purpose. Okay? So talk to others. When you have something in your mind and you think you're sure of them, hey, maybe you're not so sure of them. Talk to other people. Your thoughts will be clearer. You will understand better your ideas. Because when you hear your thoughts talking, you challenge them to work in the real world. They are born into reality. Okay? And one last thing is that science has proven that people make better decisions after talking to someone else. That's scientifically proven. Okay, so the last part is about growth mindset. And the abundance mindset. And this is like really important because a lot of researchers and a lot of, well, I know successful people says that this is like the one most important thing that they see in successful people and in happy people, like the abundance mindset. And this means that let's start with scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset is when you always see like a finite pie. So you always think that if a person takes a big piece of the pie, then the rest will take nothing, will leave them with nothing. Okay. Mm, so a scarcity mentality sees always limitations and not opportunities. And we go again to the opportunity thing. And of course, the abundance mindset refers to the paradigm that there is plenty out there for everybody. Okay? And you know this woman, Carol Dweck, I'm sure you've heard of this, is that there are two types of people: people with fixed mindset and people with growth mindset. And the theory behind, well, she did a lot of researches and studies that prove this. And she says, okay, so the people that always is like improving, that they think that they can improve, that they think that their intelligence is not fixed, that they think that they can improve it, that they can improve their abilities, then that is the people that achieve success. And that's the people that achieve happiness. But that's easy said. But every day you unconsciously are thinking that you have a fixed mindset. When you don't do really good, when you did maybe a messy job, or you did something bad, I don't know, whatever, you unconsciously most of the time think, oh, I'm not good at that. Oh no, it sucks or whatever. That's fixed mindset. That's the fucking judge that is banging you on the head. That's the fixed mindset. So the only way to achieve something impossible, or your goals or dreams, is having a growth mindset, thinking always that you can improve. So you can find this in internet, but when you read it, it's a little bit tricky, because when you read it, you say, oh, of course, growth mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow. Oh, yeah, of course. And fixed mindset. Failure is the limit of my abilities. No, I would never say that. Never, of course. And you will always suppose and say that this is the one you are, and the one you talk about every single day, and the one you have inside your brain. But it's not true. The fixed mindset is super unconscious, and you are not aware of it. And a lot of time it goes and emerge. So that's why you have to be aware of the theory. And when you are aware of this theory, you're gonna implant that chip inside your head, inside your head. Okay? That's the most important message I can give here. Because when you read this is like, oh yeah, so obvious, so common. Yeah, I can do that. But this is so unconscious. Okay.
Hera,
And finally,
Hera,
uh-huh.
Carter has a question about the.
1 second, I cannot hear very good. Let me do something here. Uh, uh, 1 second. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Hello? Okay.
Carter has a question about the part where it says that when you talk to other people about your ideas, it's better. He says,
Uh-huh.
isn't the concept of talking about ideas to others conflict with the concept that talking to others about an idea programs your mind that you've achieved it?
Oh yeah, but okay. Okay, yeah, that's true, but I'm not talking specifically about that. Yeah, you're talking about like telling others about your plans or your goals. And there is research that proves that when you tell about those goals to other people, then you receive dopamine in your head, and that dopamine make you feels good, and then your body, your brain is thinking, okay, I achieved it. It's something unconscious because you receive that dopamine boost when you tell it to other. So that's true what you said. That's true, and that's not a good idea when you talk about goals. But I'm talking here about ideas you have, about things that you are thinking about, like ideas that you are forming, that you are building. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Did I answer your question?
If my mic is on, but yes, I guess we're, yes, sorry about that. I guess we're talking about probably two completely different concepts of ideas. But I'm loving your chat
Great.
for sure.
Awesome, awesome. One second. Okay. Okay, so okay, let's go with Nadal. So Nadal is now like the best tennis player in history. Sorry for um, the other player that maybe is equally good. But Nadal has super mental toughness. He look at what he says. He says, "In my head, there are always doubts. That's my feeling. Doubts, always." Very curious. And he says, "I don't have self confidence in not one thing in life. I always have a hard time making decisions, but I am determined to make something when I play. My head allows me to play the way I think I should." And interesting because he says that he don't have self confidence, which I doubt because I think he have, but he says he don't. He only think that his mind, for some reason or other, take control when he's in the game. That's why he win. But let's see more. What are Nadal's secret? And I took this from different papers and different interviews to his uncle. His uncle was his coach for almost or all his life. Okay, so the first secret is mental toughness. He says that once at 14 he played a tournament with one broken finger, and that helped him train his toughness. This is important. If you want to train your mental toughness, you can do a lot of things. You can do fasting, for example. You can say, okay, I'm not going to eat nothing for 18 hours or 20 hours. And if you are super hungry, you keep in it. You have to keep up to the hour 20 or 18 or whatever. Or you can take super cold showers and resist there. Or you can wait like 1 hour more for your lunch, or you can do a lot of things. You can there's or you can stop drinking alcohol for 2 months or 1 month or whatever, and go for it for real. So that help us train our mental toughness, and that helps because after you accomplish that, then you're gonna remember what you accomplished, and your mind is gonna be much more tough, much more strong. Second Nadal secret is obedience, humility. He always hears what his coach have to say, and he tries it. He tried. He let himself be molded by his coach. So he's not like, oh no, I don't think that will work. Oh, okay, I will do it, and then he don't do it. No, he has obedience, humility. He says, okay, I'm gonna try it. If you say it, I'm gonna try it. So his uncle said that this guy, since he was a kid, he has this like quality, like attribute, or yeah. The third secret, growth mindset, is not a surprise. What Carol Dweck said. He always think he can do better and learn how to. Always, his uncle says, one thing that I always said to him is, hey, Rafa, you can always be better. You are not better enough. Never, never. You're never good enough. Okay? The fourth secret, surrender never. No excuses. When he accepts the challenge, he's going to be the best at it, or at least he's going to try. He's going to try to be the best. He's going to try his best. No whining. No, that my feet, my foot hurts, my hands, oh, my headache. Oh, no whining, no excuses. He accepts the challenge, and he's going to go to the end. 5, positive mindset. Again, confidence. And this is not something I'm concluding, or I realized when reading about him. That's something that I read in the different papers I gathered. So he feels he can control the situation when he's playing. But why? Because he sees opportunity. He don't see problems. He don't think like, oh, I sucks. Oh, I'm sucked. No, this is so bad. I'm doing this wrong. And that's what happens when you see those players, professional players even, that they start like kicking his racket and smashing their racket and expressing with their faces too much. When you express too much, you're not only saying to the other player that you are desperate, that you are weak, but you are also telling to yourself that you are weak and then that you are losing control. Okay? So this is a huge strong point from Nadal. He controlled the situation because he sees opportunity, but he also visualized those opportunity based on successful situations he lived before in other games. And that's very important. And that's why the first point is so important. When you train your mind, when you do things that put you in difficult situation and you achieve them and you achieve your goals, then you're going to remember them. And that will be useful when you're gonna you encounter difficult situations in the future, because you're gonna remember them and you say, okay, I can do this because I did it before. Okay, so he sees opportunities and visualize them with successful examples of his past. Okay, super important. And the last slide is that after all of this, I hope we can find happiness. Not money, not necessarily money, maybe money, but happiness. And this is Laurie Santos. Laurie Santos taught the most viewed course in jail, and it's about happiness. And it's free. You can take it in Coursera. And something interesting is that happiness is, look what I think is happiness. Happiness, waking up every day to build something that matters to you. That's happiness. When you wake up every single day to build something that really matters to you, you're happy. You found happiness. And finally, a little bit of science to close. Happiness is correlated with earning more money, with getting married, being more creative, having better health, and living longer. And with all the things I talked about, I hope we can find happiness, and I'm sure we can. That's all. Thank you very much. It's a decision. Make it.